So, hi, good morning. Audible? Happy New Year to all of you. So, we need to start with the Nanda dynasty. Last was the Sishunak. So, chalo, let's start with the same Nanda dynasty. So, as we mentioned the story that the last ruler Kakvardin, or his other name was Kalasok, so he was assassinated by Mahapadmanand, which led to the establishment of the Nanda dynasty. Then, as I think I also mentioned that he took a oath that he will eliminate all the Kshatriyas from the Magad. So he adopted a very aggressive approach towards the Kshatriya community, and moreover, because of this aggressive attitude, he came to be known as Ekarat Ugrasen. Okay? So Ekarat Ugrasen or Ekachhatra. So these all titles he has taken. But then, as far as the political achievement is concerned, not much political achievement was there at the time of the Mahapadmanand. Then, so uh, there was only one. I think last we mentioned, you remember that Avanti was taken over by the very first one, Shashanag. So this point of time, Odisha, some parts of Odisha has come under the control of the Mahapadmanand. Then the most important ruler, this dynasty was short-lived. It was from 344 to 321. But then within this short duration, there were so many rulers, starting from the Mahapadmanand, and then 8, 9 rulers were there. But then the most important was the last ruler. What was his name? So Dhananand. So Dhananand was the most important ruler, and what happened at his point of time, so it is said that Dhananand went on to build a very strong army of that time. And in fact, that army can be very much compared with the army of the Alexander also. So Dhananand was the ruler, and that is the time when the basically campaign of the Alexander has started for the Eastern world, and Alexander has won all the areas between the Indus River in India and the Macedonia, which was his own place. So where is Macedonia in the today's world? Starting from the Greece and those countries which used to come under the name of the country Yugoslavia. You, you must have heard about it. There is no more Yugoslavia, but then there are so many countries which emerged from the Yugoslavia. So Albania, Serbia, these all countries. Then, so starting from those region and then till this area. So now Alexander has arrived in India. Then on the banks of river Jhelum, he had a very important fight with one Indian ruler, and the name of the ruler was Porus. And so Porus, and in the accounts of the Alexander, the battle is mentioned as Battle of Hydaspes. Then, so which is Jhelum River. So in the Battle of Hydaspes, Alexander, though he has defeated Porus, but then he was so impressed by his bravery that he reinstated Porus on the throne of his area, and then after they both became allies. Then, so a friendship kind of thing developed between the two. So now Alexander, when he has won over Porus, he wants to extend and he wants to cross the river Satluj also, and then enter into the Magad domain to fight with the Dhananand. But that is the time when the army of the Alexander, because of the continuous fighting, they were highly exhausted, they were highly tired, and they are the one who said that if at this point of time, if we fight with the Dhananand's army, so there is a very possibility that we'll get defeated. So we need time for preparation, and we need time for re-energizing ourselves. So he did not attacked or he did not fought with the Dhananand, and he decided to give them a little bit of time. But then he was unfortunate when he was returning back that his army was still stationed at Indus and Jhelum, and some Greek governors were appointed. But when he was returning back to Macedonia, so he was sought by somebody from the backside and poisoned arrows. So Alexander, who was on a spree to win the world, he died just because of the poisoned arrows. Then his death happened. Now his Greek governors are stationed at this area, and then after, when the next dynasty will come to picture, so then there would be confrontation between the Greek governors of Alexander and so as the Mauryas. So now Dhananand, who was saved by the attack of the Alexander, he could not save himself from the Chandragupta Maurya. But the question is that who was Chandragupta Maurya? Actually, he was not a big threat. He was not perceived as a big threat at that point of time. And he was kind of that ruling in a small area. And then after, he further expanded to Patliputra. So how this was made possible? It was made possible because of the support of his very able minister. And who was he? Vishnu Gupta. Okay? So Vishnu Gupta, also known as Kautilya and Chanakya. These are titles. Chanakya and Kautilya are title. The original name was Vishnu Gupta. In fact, with the title Chanakya, there were so many people in those times. In fact, there was one minister of Ashoka who was also called as Chanakya. Then, and original name used to be Radha Gupta. So please keep in mind that Chanakya is not just one person, it is given to a person who is highly intelligent, very good in strategy making. Okay? So the Chanakya title was given to this guy. Then further what happened? So this particular, it is Chanakya, Vishnugupta or Kautilya. He made a political mechanization and which led to the fall of the Nanda empire and establishment of the Mauryas. Then, so in which book particularly, okay, in which particular text this particular story of the defeat of the Nandas is mentioned and the political mechanization of the Vishnugupta is mentioned? Mudra Rakshas, which was written by Vishakhadat. Then, so Vishakhadat. Basically, generally people go with the Arthasastra, which was written by Kautilya, but Arthasastra is a book of public administration. It is not a book of the, it is not the book of this particular war details and everything. Okay? So war details and everything. Moreover, statecraft, you know, basically public administration is called as the statecraft. Apart from it, one of the earliest books in the world history where some sort of statecraft and public administration is mentioned. In Indian context, it was the Arthasastra, and in the Western context it was The Prince, written by Machiavelli. Okay? So Machiavelli, these two are quite comparable, and in fact, in some aspect of their content, they do have a similarity. Then, so now let's look at it. So Vishakhadat was not in this age. He was in the age of the after the Guptas actually. Okay? So he was after the Guptas. So there is a big gap. That big gap of 800 years. Then, so how come he got to know the story? He must also have some sort of information from somewhere else. So the original story of the defeat of the Nandas is mentioned in the Jain literature and Buddhist literature. Okay? So the initial Jain and Buddhist book, they compiled the story that how Nandas were defeated by Mauryas. And moreover, both the text, okay, there is a little bit difference in them, but overall story is very similar in both Jain and Buddhist literature. There are some names that they have changed, but the story, the crux of the story, 90% of the story exactly similar. So I'll tell you one which is mentioned in the Jain literature, which is considered regarded as the original source, which talks about that how they were defeated. It has some sort of, as you can say, that ideal element or superannuated element. So let's look at it. So the story which is mentioned in the Jain literature, it says that how it happened. So it is said that Chanakya or Vishnugupta, Kautilya, he was one of the very popular individual from the Takshashila area. Takshashila is in which part? It is in so northwest frontier province. So he was regarded as one of the intellectual of that time who was known for strategy making. And he was a Brahmin. So he was married to a very beautiful lady, And then one fine day, what happened, that there must have been some sort of household fight, and then after, he was in search of getting something from somewhere, meaning wealth. Now a news came. That news was that the ruler of the Magad, Dhananand, he is organizing a charity event. And charity event for whom? Charity event for the Brahmins. Then, so charity event for the Brahmins, and then all the Brahmins are invited. He also went over there. When the assembly started, so as the description of the personality of the Vishnugupta is mentioned, that he has a tall personality, but then his teeth were protruding outside then, and he didn't had a very smart face then. So when Dhananand entered into the stage, and then he identified him as a not Brahmin, and then he ordered that he must be thrown out of the assembly. Then he did not listen to what Chanakya was saying or Kautilya was saying, and moreover he was thrown out of the assembly. So he was humiliated in that assembly. So now Chanakya, obviously he was full with the of that insult, and then he felt humiliated. He wanted to take the revenge also, and at the same point of time, he pondered that this kind of person would not be a better ruler, that he doesn't deserve to be a ruler who does not even listen. Then, so that is the moment he has started strategizing. Then, ouster of the Dhananand. So initially, what he did, that in Magad itself, he has contacted one of the son of the Dhananand. The name of the son of the Dhananand was Pabati, as in Jain record. Buddhist record में अलग नाम दिया हुआ है, ठीक है? So just name change. So now he contacted him, and then alliance was forged between them. And at a particular time, Pabati, after a year or so, he will be coming to Takshashila, and then they will launch the campaign from the Takshashila. Now, Kautilya returned back to Takshashila. So now, when he returned back to Takshashila, so he was resting under a tree, and there were some children who were playing the game of the king and then soldiers. So while playing the game, that he just started watching that game, and in that game, so kids were repeating the game again and again with different fighters. Then, so all the kids, they were changing their roles. Then sometimes somebody is a minister, somebody is a soldier. Then, so they were changing their roles, but there was one guy or one boy who was always the king in that particular game. So out of curiosity, Chanakya asked to those children that why all of you are changing the roles, why his role is not getting changed. So they said that it's the only he who has the trait of the king. Then, that he listens to us, he fights for us, he leads from the front, then he can go to any extent for us. Then, and he is very intelligent. So all the attributes of a good king, they mentioned about that boy. So now he was very happy to see that boy, and he asked to the mother of the boy that will she give any opportunity to him to teach that particular boy. So he has taken that particular boy to his ashram, and then the education of the boy started. Then, so now day by day, Kautilya's conviction about the boy is increasing. Then, that his confidence in that boy is increasing, but still he needs to be very sure that do they have really the attribute of a king. So then the moment came, Pabati has arrived in Takshashila, and then the strategy creation further went ahead. Then one fine day, Pabati was given a task. Chanakya wanted to see something. So he was given a task that he said to the Pabati that when that particular boy is sleeping, okay, so there is a thread in his neck, then go and bring that thread, but make sure that you are not waking him up. Then if he wakes up, so then come back and tell me that you were not successful in this regard. He went and he tried, but then in the process, Chandragupta, that he was out of his sleep. Then, so now he came, and then he reported it to the Chanakya. Then after some days passed, same task was given to the Chandragupta. Then, and Chandragupta went. Then after some point of time, he brought the thread. So then Chanakya asked that, did you make sure that he did not wake up? Then, so he said that I made sure that he will never wake up. I cut his head. Yeah. So this is one thing which he wanted to test, that a king must have a brutal, that when it comes to his own interest, he must not be sympathetic to others. Then if you are sympathetic to others in your interest and somebody else's interest, so you don't have the trait of the king. So then this is tested and then now finalized that Chandragupta would be the next emperor. But then they have a long path to take. So now what happens? So further training has happened and the day has arrived when they will be marching into the Patliputra. And when they will be marching into the Patliputra, so the initial strategy of the Kautilya was that if they get the capital, so if they kill the Dhananand, get the capital, so empire is theirs. Then, so with this strategy, they have sneaked into the palace of the Dhananand, but then there was a tight security, and then after they were not able to kill, and they had to run for their life. Then many of them got killed also. So now Kautilya was very not only sad, but he was questioning himself. Then that is he competent enough? Then and as per the story, it seems to be kind of very coincidental. So he was in the same village from where he got the Chandragupta. Then once again under the same tree. And now the scene has changed. So in the literature, it has been mentioned that now what he's seeing over there, that there is a mother and there is a child. Mother is kind of that she is baking the bread and then rotis and she is serving to the child. But what the child was doing, that he was removing the corners, okay, the sides, and eating the middle part only, and rest of them he was throwing. So mother was scolding the child, and then she said that you will enjoy the middle only when you start eating from the sides. But if you throw the sides and just try to enjoy the middle, so you'll never enjoy the middle. Then, so now this was a spark for the Kautilya that he also did the same mistake, that he wanted to win the capital but not the periphery. Then if he has won the periphery, so it is easy to win the capital. So this is where he got the clue, and then after he started the campaign in part wise. So one by one the peripheral areas of the Patliputra was won over by them, and finally that Patliputra becomes a like this, and this entire peripheral areas has been surrounded by Chandragupta Maurya's army. And finally Dhananand was captured in the capital and he was killed. Okay? So he was captured in the capital, he was killed. This strategy worked for them, and that's how the Nanda dynasty was replaced by the Mauryas. Then, so this is the original story which has been mentioned in the Buddhist and the Jain literature, but yes, little bit of kind of that, as you can see, that story seems little bit artificial. But then in artificiality also, both the books, they have maintained the similar character, which means that this must have been the storyline. Okay? So Vishakadatta wrote this book, Mudra Rakshas, in which he mentioned the political mechanization which was developed by him, which was developed by Chanakya against the Nanda ruler. Okay? So mention, ek bar likho. We haven't written a single word about the Nandas. So mention, Mahapadmanand, after coming to power, took a determination, that he will eliminate all the Kshatriyas from Magad. All the Kshatriyas from Magad. Full stop. Then mention after it, because of his aggressive attitude, he was popularly known as Ugrasen or Ekrat. Ugrasen or Ekrat. Then हो गया? Then mention he occupied some parts of western Odisha. Some parts of western Odisha. Western Odisha. Then mention after it. The most important ruler of Nanda dynasty was Dhananand. He built one of the strongest army of that time. He built one of the strongest army of that time. One of the strongest army of that time. Full stop. During his tenure, ruler of Macedonia, Alexander, started his campaign of the east. Alexander started his campaign of the east. And then mention on the banks of river Jhelum, in the battle of Hydaspes, 326 BC. Mention Alexander defeated the ruler of the Jhelum, Porus. Then mention, but impressed by his bravery, Jhelum was restored to Porus. And they became ally. And then mention Alexander wanted to enter into Magad to fight with Dhananand. But at this time he was stopped by his army. Which was exhausted due to continuous fight. And exhausted due to continuous fight. Full stop. Paragraph change karo. Though Dhananand was saved from the attack of Alexander, Dhananand was saved from the attack of Alexander, but he could not defend himself against Chandragupta Maurya. He could not defend himself against Chandragupta Maurya. So now you can write a title, Maurya Dynasty. (321 to 185 BC). So you write mention. इसमें लिखो आगे, Chandragupta defeated Dhananand due to the active support of Vishnu Gupta, and also known as Kautilya or Chanakya. Also known as Kautilya or Chanakya. Then mention further, you write, the political mechanization developed by Kautilya. The political mechanization developed by Kautilya against Nanda ruler is mentioned in the historical text Mudra Rakshas, written by Vishakha Dutt. Then इसमें ऐड करते चलो. This is just an informative thing. So next you mention Arthashastra, written by Vishnu Gupta or Kautilya, is a book of statecraft of Maurya age. Then mention Indica, authored by Megasthenes. Provides the details of Maurya society. So this is the initial information. Now just understand. So Chandragupta Maurya has come to power, and then after coming power, so in the Greek accounts, his name is mentioned as Sandrocotus. Then we'll write later on Sandrocotus. Then so he has established his rule. He has further started expanding, and now he want to win over the area lying west of river Indus. So now there is a fight between Chandragupta Maurya and the Greek ambassador of the Alexander, whose name was Seleucus Nicator. So once again, with the active support of So with the active support of Vishnu Gupta, he was able to defeat Seleucus Nicator. And after this defeat, so not only the entire northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent comes under the control of the Maurya, but a friendship treaty was signed between the two, whereby Seleucus Nicator also gave the hand of his daughter to Chandragupta Maurya. So Chandragupta Maurya. But then it is Nicator who has made a request to Chandragupta Maurya that he must accept a Greek ambassador, Megasthenes, in his court. So that's how Megasthenes has arrived in Chandragupta Maurya's court. So it is the Megasthenes book in which he has mentioned different names for all of them. So for example, Chandragupta Maurya was called as, he was referred as Sandrocotus in Greek accounts. So the battle between the Nicator and the Maurya has happened in 305 BC, okay, around 305. But then by 299, Chandragupta Maurya, who has already accepted Jainism under the influence of the Jain monk Bhadrabahu. So there was a severe famine in the Magad to do the extreme penance in the Jainism style, okay? And what is that? Sallekhana. So he performed Sallekhana, which place? So what he did, that to do this extreme penance in the Jainism, he shifted to a location called Shravan Belgola in Karnataka. So Shravan Belgola in Karnataka. And listen, so there in Karnataka, what he did, that he decided to fast till death, and this fast till death is called as Sallekhana. In the modern times, we also give it a name, Santhara. And this year paper, there was a one question related to it. Not exactly Sallekhana, but the practice very similar to Sallekhana. Vattikuruttul. Okay? So Vattikuruttul, what was the practice? We'll be talking about it in the Sangam age. This is also starving oneself to the death. So particularly it all started from the Jainism. In fact, the versions of this you can see even in the Japan also, South Korea also. So though the extremity is not a feature of the Buddhism, but somehow in Japan and then in South Korea in Buddhism, they started including these extremities, basically, that starving themselves to death. But not everyone does it. So here, Chandragupta Maurya by 299 AD, that 99 BC, he has shifted over there, and his death happened over there. After his death, his son Bindusar has come to power. So we'll talk about his story. First, you mentioned this. So what you have written, last thing, Indica. Indica के बाद लिखो, ठीक है? In 305 BC, Chandragupta fought with the Greek ambassador. Chandragupta fought with the Greek ambassador of Alexander, Seleucus Nicator. Name is written on the board, you can see. So Greek ambassador of Alexander, Seleucus Nicator. Full stop. Once again, with the support of Kautilya, Chandragupta was successful. And then mention further. Chandragupta was successful. After the defeat of Nicator, a treaty was signed. After the defeat of Nicator, a treaty was signed whereby area lying west of River Indus, was handed over to Chandragupta. Area lying west of River Indus was handed over to Chandragupta, and Niketar also gave the hand of his daughter. Niketar also gave hand of his daughter Helena. Hand of his daughter Helena to Chandragupta. Hand of his daughter Helena to Chandragupta. Full stop. Chandragupta accepted Greek ambassador Megasthenes in his court. Chandragupta accepted Greek ambassador Megasthenes in his court. Megasthenes in his court. Full stop. Then change paragraph and there you write. Mention. Chandragupta accepted Jain faith. Chandragupta accepted Jain faith under the guidance of Bhadra Bahu. Chandragupta accepted Jain faith under the guidance of Bhadra Bahu. Then mention further after it. Likho. There was a severe famine. In Magad. Due to which severe famine in Magad, due to which Chandragupta shifted to a place called Shravanbelgola in Karnataka. Shravanbelgola in Karnataka. Where? Shravanbelgola in Karnataka, where under the influence of Bhadra Bahu, he performed extreme Jain penance. Salekhana. Extreme Jain penance. Penance is Paschatap. Salekhana. And ended his life by fasting till death. Ended his life by fasting till death. Done. So this is the Chandragupta's episode. Then after his son Bindusar is coming to power. So Bindusar, now understand. So Bindusar came to power, but there is a story related to Bindusar also, and moreover, as far as the religious belief is concerned, Chandragupta was follower of the Jainism. Bindusar was follower of a Jivika, and then even Ashoka was also follower of a Jivika. But then later on, Ashoka would be converting into the Buddhism. Okay? But before that, Bindusar, as a name story. So Bindusar, Bimbisar, sometimes it becomes confusing. Then that who was Bimbisar, who was Bindusar. Then so Bimbisar was the founder of the Haryanka dynasty in the Magad. But Bindusar, so the story goes like this, that first of all, there are some attributes of the king which were mentioned in the Artha Shastra. And what are these attributes? So Chanakya was of the view that the king must be the strongest person in the kingdom. Right? So he must be the strongest person in the kingdom, and apart from it, then that he must lead by the example. So now what he has done, that he has made sure that Chandragupta Maurya, no one comes in his way. Then after, he's feeding Chandragupta Maurya something to build his body, okay, and the brain and everything. So what is that particular thing? Poison. Okay, so he was always serving that in his food snake poison was served to him. And now it might be little amusing for some of you that how come having snake poison on daily basis and not dying. So you'll have to understand that when it comes to snake poison, so snake poison is the highest quality protein. Then there could not be any better protein than that. Then so it is the highest quality of protein. But then what is the issue with the snake poison? Issue with the snake poison, that there are two type of the poisons. Then one is hemotoxic and one is neurotoxic. Then so if the neurotoxic one comes in touch with your neurons, so then the death will happen. And if the hemotoxic comes in touch with your blood, so then only the person will die. So in these cases, what happens, that neurotoxic is considered as little bit is enough. Okay, little bit is enough. So for example, that have you heard about the vipers? So viper, there an Indian version of the viper is karat. Have you heard about? Many of you must have heard about. So, and those who haven't heard about the karat, so those who have done some sort of experiment in the laboratories, so they must be knowing the name naja naja. Okay, so yep, so they are this is neurotoxic, meaning even a smallest very little bit of amount is enough to kill a person. Then but then the cobra, which is most dreaded in India, so cobra is hemotoxic. So if the cobra poison comes in contact with your blood, so then only the death will happen, otherwise death will not happen. So particularly if somebody is taking it with the food and there is no contact zone, or basically no blood is oozing out from your intestinal tract or digestive system tract, so then it is a protein. It will help you a lot. Then in fact you must have seen some of the mystics doing this stuff, that having that getting the poison and in front of the people they are having it. Then so you need to search it, who is that mystic. I have seen literally one person from the front itself, that taking the cobra poison and then not dead, he's still alive. So now listen, so that's how it was served in the food. Then now your memories must be revised, whereby you must have seen Chandrakanta. Okay, some of you know, not this lot. Okay, anyways, so there was one TV serial which was very popular on Doordarshan, and those were the time, that Chandrakanta. So the depiction was wrong in that the context was very similar to this story. And what was this, that in that the snake was hissing the ruler. Then it was not like this. Then food में mix करके दे देते. So that's how. So Chandragupta was strongest person in the kingdom. But then you know what happened. One fine day, he was done with his food, and then his wife came, and then she started eating in the same plate. She was pregnant, and as you know that in pregnancy, that the blood is already there in the system, internal system. Then if it often comes in touch with the many other things, then so that's how that she was poisoned with the food. And the same night she has given birth to the child, but then she was not able to survive. But child was also, the blood has in the child blood, it has also received the poison with the umbilical cord. Then so now what was done, that as you know that children have a very soft temple here, this is called as temple, this part. Then not the puja part, but then in medical language. Then so very soft temple, and then moreover when the children are born, so they have more than 1,000 bones. Then originally you have how many bones? टूटे कितने हैं? So so bones कम होते जाते हैं, ठीक है? So then what happens, so there is a area from here the blood can be drained, poisoned things can be drained, and that's how the blood was drained from this area, so that poison can be drained. And then after, a black spot got created on the forehead of the child, and that's how Chanakya named the child as Bindu. A Bindu was created on the forehead, so he was named Bindusar. The original meaning of his name was the one who was saved because of the Bindu. Okay? So that's how. Now you understand Bindu, okay? And then you remember Bindusar. So Bindusar has come to power. And as we mentioned that Bindusar was the follower of the Ajivika faith, but then he is also that in the society there was a lot of respect towards all the religious movement. So you remember that no, you haven't written actually. Art and culture may I usually mention about the Shramana tradition. Then, so they were followers of the Shramana tradition, whereby all the religions were given, accorded some sort of respect. But we'll further elaborate in the art and culture. So now understand. So he will be convening a Jain council also. But before that, the name of the Bindusar in the Greek account, he is mentioned as, any idea? Agrames. Agrames. Then, or he is also mentioned as Amitrochats. No, not Agrames. Just give me 1 minute. So, Amitrochats. Then, and normally in Indian languages, he is mentioned as Amitraghat. So what does it mean? हाँ, so ये नीचे वाला से पता चल जाएगा, अमित्र घात, ठीक है, meaning that the one who is not mitra will be amitra, and ghat meaning killing, ठीक है. So the meaning of this word is destroyer of the enemies, ठीक है. Now, so understand the destroyer of the enemies. Moreover, it is said that it is during the time of the Bindusar only the Maurya kingdom has further expanded to southern India, and he has annexed all the southern Mahajanpadas, which means Asmak. Then, so these details are provided by one Tibetan scholar whose name was Taranath. And so Taranath has elaborately mentioned about the campaign of the Bindusar in the southern areas. Then after, it is said that Bindusar has a very cordial and friendly relation with some of the rulers in the Western world to India. So what is Western world? Egypt is Western to India. So as the Syria. Right? So as the Syria. So he had a very good relation with the Syrian ruler Philadelphus Ptolemy. Philadelphus Ptolemy. So how we write Ptolemy? P-T-O-L-M-A-Y. And then with the ruler of the Syria, Antiochus II. Antiochus II. So he requested to the ruler of the Syria, Antiochus II, to send fig, wine, and philosopher to Maurya court. So this has been asked in prelims exam once. So fig, you understand? Anjeer, okay? And wine. So red wine tradition, obviously red wine tradition, it all started from the Mediterranean world only. Then, so Syria is a Mediterranean country, you all know. And then the philosopher tradition. So the Syrian ruler, he gave the sent fig and wine, but he that refused to send a philosopher, or basically recused to send a philosopher, whereby he maintained that there is not a rule in the Syria to send a philosopher. Okay? That it is a sui generis process whereby that philosophers emerge in a particular country in their own way. Then, so that's how he did not send it. So this is one part of the Bindusar. Then the second thing that Bindusar convened the first Jain council at Patliputra. So first Jain council at Patliputra, and this Jain council was presided by Jain monk Stulabhadra. So presided by Jain monk Stulabhadra, though he was follower of Ajivika, but he has convened this particular council. After this, that council has been convened after some point of time. When Chandragupta Maurya is dead, Bhadrabahu returned from the Shravan Belgola. And when he returned from the Shravan Belgola, so there was ideological fight between Sthulabhadra and Bhadrabahu, and this led to the beginning of the two traditions in the Jainism, Svetambar and Digambar. So mention, likho. What is the last thing that you have written? Chandragupta Maurya, part completed. Fasting till death. Okay. So you write, after his death, his son Bindusar, after his death, his son Bindusar came to power. So you can write the timeline of Bindusar. 299 to 273. Mention. In Greek accounts, he is mentioned as Amitrochats. He is mentioned as Amitrochats or Amitra Ghat. Then mention. ये लिख लेना ब्रैकेट्स में, destroyer of the enemies. Destroyer of the enemies. That's the meaning of the word Amitra Ghat. Then further you write, he won the southern India, or he annexed the southern India in Mauryan Empire. He annexed southern India in Mauryan Empire, which has been attested by, he annexed southern India in Mauryan Empire, which has been attested by Tibetan scholar Tara Nath, which has been attested by Tibetan scholar Tara Nath. Then mention, likho. He also established a very cordial relation with Philadelphus Ptolemy of Egypt, and Antiochus II of Syria. Then mention further. He requested Syrian ruler to send fig, wine and philosopher to Mauryan court. Fig, wine, philosopher to Mauryan court. Syrian ruler, full stop के बाद लिखो, Syrian ruler refused to send a philosopher. As the law of Syria did not allow it. Then mention law of Syria did not allow it. Then उसके बाद लिखो what else is remaining? Yeah, Jain Council. So you write In 299 BC, in 299 BC, he convened the first Jain council at Patliputra. He convened the first Jain council at Patliputra, which was presided by Sthulbhadra, which was presided by Sthulbhadra. Then mention. After some point of time, Bhadra Bahu returned from Shravan Belgola. Bhadra Bahu returned from Shravan Belgola, which led to ideological fight between him and Sthulbhadra. Full stop. It led to the creation of two branches of Jainism. Svetambar and Digambar. So now listen. After it, so death of Bindusar in 273. Okay? So after the death of Bindusar, his son started to fight for the power. Right? So war of succession has started among his sons, which continued for 4 years. Finally, in this war of succession, who was victorious? Asoka. In 269, as it is said that Asoka eliminated all his brothers then. So as per different legends, that they say that Asoka killed 100 of his brothers. In fact, the story is like that the people of the Patna, what they say, that there is this area of the Kumrar Park, and where very closer to that 7 wells were there. So not all of them are there, but nowadays in Patna people say that 4 wells are there from the Maurya age. So he has thrown all his brothers into the wells. So this is the story which is kind of mentioned. Then it is the only one that there was only one brother who was spared, and that brother was a Buddhist monk, Mogaliputta Tessa. So anyways, Ashoka came to power in 269 BCE. And then after, so he is regarded as the most powerful Maurya ruler, and not just the most powerful, but the most powerful ruler in the entire Indian ancient history. Okay? In fact, Ashoka was also given the title of the Chakravarti Samrat. Then, so he happens to be the first Chakravarti Samrat of India. What does it mean? What is Chakravarti? That the man who ruled in all the 4 directions. ठीक है? So कहने के हिसाब से तो चक्रवर्ती का मतलब होता है कि जहां तक नजर जाए वहां तक उसी की रूल है. ठीक है? So this is what is there. Then overall, Ashoka's life has been divided into 3 phases. Then, so 3 phases. So a phase 1 is and 2 are going together. That is Chanda Shoka, Kama Shoka. Okay? And the last one is called as Dhamma Shoka. So what is Chanda Shoka? The phase of the Ashoka in which he is Chand. Chand means aggressive. Then, and he is going after the expansion of his empire. So expansion of his empire, and so as with the brutal methods, then slaughtering of the people and annexation of the area. So that is Chanda phase. Then Kama Ashoka. So obviously after the win, he will be indulging in the physical pleasure. Okay? So indulgence in the physical pleasure, carnal pleasure. That is the phase of the Kama Ashoka. And then last one is that realization of the purpose of the life, and then that realization of the sins that he has committed, and then change of heart conversion to Buddhism, and then propagation of the Dhamma. What is Dhamma? So doctrines of the Buddhism, but basically it is called as ethical moral code of conduct. Then, so these are the three phases. Apart from it, that when we talk about that, from where we get to know about the Ashoka, okay? So not only that there are some historical texts which mentions, but the most important source of information about Ashoka is his inscriptions. Okay? So is his inscriptions, and these inscriptions, okay? So their language we need to know, and the script we need to know. So first of all, as far as the languages are concerned, so it was written in Prakrit language, में Prakrit, Greek and Aramaic. So Ashokan inscriptions are written in three languages: Prakrit, Greek and Aramaic. As far as the script of the language is concerned, or inscription is concerned, so script was in India, particularly both India and Pakistan part, or that entire Indian subcontinent. So two scripts were used. In the mainland India, Brahmi was the script which was used for writing the Prakrit language things. Okay? And so as Prakrit was also written in Kharoshthi in today's Pakistan area. So these were the two scripts used in India. And then what about the Greek and Aramaic? So Greek and Aramaic are the language also, and they are script also. Okay? So they were written in the same script, same language. Moreover, then, who was the first person who read this particular or deciphered the Brahmi scripts of the India? James Prinsep. Okay? So it is around 1836-37. James Prinsep has deciphered the Ashokan inscription, and in majority of the Ashokan inscription, Ashoka has been mentioned as Devanam Piya Piyadasi. Then, so Devanam Piya Piyadasi. What does it mean? That the one who is beloved to the god, the king that who is beloved to the god. So this question has been asked in the prelims exam, that who deciphered the Ashokan inscriptions. एक बार लिखो. So mention अशोका के बारे में लिखो. So नहीं पहले you write after the death of Bindusar, war of succession. After the death of Bindusar, war of succession started among his sons. War of succession started among his sons, which continued for 4 years. Then mention continued for 4 years, full stop. It is said that Ashoka killed 100 of his brothers. It is said that Ashoka killed 100 of his brothers to assume power in 269 BC. Assume power in 269 BC. So you can write Ashoka as a title, 269 to 232. Mention. So right, he was the most powerful Mauryan king and first Chakravarti Samrat of India. First Chakravarti Samrat of India. Then mention further. His life is divided into three phases. That is, so mention one by one. Chandashoka, aggressive. brutal phase, Kamashoka. Kamashoka. Indulged in physical pleasure. And the last one, Dhammashoka, is associated with propagation of Dhamma. In brackets you write moral ethical code of conduct. Moral ethical code of conduct. Code of conduct. Then you write, mention about the sources of information. So the most important source of information about Asoka's rule are his rock edicts and inscriptions. Rock edicts and inscriptions. About his rock edicts and inscriptions. Then mention further after it, rock edicts and inscription. It was written in Prakrit, Greek and Aramic language. Prakrit, Greek and Aramic languages. Then mention the script which was used for writing. The script which was used for writing was Brahmi, Kharoshthi, and Greek and Aramic. So Prakrit was basically written in two scripts, that is Brahmi and Kharoshthi. And then Greek and Aramic were written in the same script. So their language and their script has the same name. Then mention. Done? So likho. James Princip was the first person who deciphered the Asokan inscriptions. James Princip was the first person who deciphered the Asokan inscriptions. Mention. In majority of the Ashokan inscriptions, Ashoka was referred as Devanam Piyadasi. and in brackets you can write beloved of the gods. Beloved of the gods. Beloved of the gods. Done. So this is what is about this particular part. Okay. So now let's look at the Ashoka's basically campaign. So 269 he has come to power, and then it is in 261 BC when he has started his campaign of the Kalinga. Right? So campaign of the Kalinga 261, it is called as 9th regnal year of the Ashoka. So in the 9th regnal year, he attacked on Kalinga. What he wanted from the Kalinga was basically coastal area which has a plenty of the natural harbors, or basically ports. Right? And ports were important to the Mauryas for trade and commerce. So now he has entered into the Kalinga. Then the historic battle was fought at the banks of river Daya, at the place called Dhauli. Then on the site of Dhauli at the banks of river Daya, the battle was fought, and this particular detail is not exaggeration. So what they say that more than 1 lakh people were killed in this particular battle. Then so it is said that when Ashoka was moving through the battlefield, and then he had a chance look at the Daya river. So Daya rivers was completely blood red in color. Then he happened to ask, out of his amazement, he asked that why the color of the river is red. And then everyone over there, they replied that this is just because of the massacre that we have performed, that it is the human blood. So he was moved by that particular scene, and then he has taken a determination on that particular day itself that he is full of remorse, and he is full of guilt, remorse and sin, that he will not be doing this anymore. So that's how he has started embarking on the path of the Buddhism, and under the guidance of his brother Mogali Puttadesa, who has already accepted the Buddhism, he also became Buddhist. So then the major achievement of his life was, or major initiative we can say, was the third Buddhist council. Though the Buddhist council will be mentioning further over there in the art and culture, but here I need to talk about this council, and this detail is important. So though some writing of the books and everything will mention in the culture part, but what was the most important initiative? That not only Ashoka tried to maintain the original teachings of the Buddhism in this particular council, and at the same point of time he tried to preserve it. Apart from it, the most important initiative was after the council was over. What he did, that he started sending many Buddhist missions to different parts of the world. So he has sent Buddhist missions to Eastern Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, then Indonesia. Then he has sent it to Sri Lanka, and so as to the Central Asia. So it was his son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra who has taken Buddhism to Sri Lanka. So now, remember that when we will be talking about the Buddhism, so we'll be talking about the people tree under which Buddha got Nirvana at Bodh Gaya. So that people tree, so whenever any Buddhist mission was sent to any part of the world, so people tree, the original people tree, a sapling of the original people tree was taken, and it was planted at the place wherever the Buddhism was getting spread. So in Sri Lanka, there is a place called, and the most revered place of the Buddhism in Sri Lanka is Anuradhapuram, where the tree was planted. So now why we are talking about the tree, it is important. Later on, when Ashoka's age is over, Maurya's age is over, post-Maurya, post-Maurya ke baad, then Gupta, after Gupta, Harshvardhan. So when Harshvardhan was there, Harshvardhan was also the follower of the Buddhism, and Harshvardhan accepted Buddhism under the guidance of Fensang. But then one of the harshest critic of the Harshvardhan, or staunch enemy or formidable enemy of the Harshvardhan, was Shashank Gaud of Bihar and Bengal. And to take revenge from the Harshvardhan, what he did, that he cut that original Bodhi tree, which was there in the Bodh Gaya. So the Bodhi tree was cut, but then the Bodhi tree survived because of the initiatives of the Ashoka, that it has already gone to Sri Lanka and the different places in the world. So the Bodhi tree that you see today in the Bodh Gaya is this the 5th generation tree. Okay? But the one which was the first generation was planted in the Sri Lanka. I hope you're getting this information. Another thing, that when we read Buddhism, so we generally raise a question about the Buddhism, that why in the early medieval centuries and why that from early medieval to medieval century, the Buddhism which emerged in India started to decline from its own place of the birth. Then, so we need to find out the reasons. But then now understand, so Buddhism, there came a moment in the Indian history that Buddhism completely disappeared from the Indian subcontinent. But then just think about that, if at all Asoka would not have taken this initiative of sending Buddhism to Myanmar, to Thailand, or to Central Asia or Sri Lanka, so it may not have survived. So it may not have survived, because from India it completely declined. And in fact, during the time of the Khiljis, so there was this particular guy, his name was Bakhtiyar Khilji, who was the governor of the Bengal of the Alauddin Khilji. He completely destroyed the Buddhist universities also. And what is those universities? Nalanda and Vikramshila. Okay? So he burnt these two universities and nothing remained in these universities. So somehow it survived because of 3-4 things. One is the Ashoka's initiative. Second is the Fahian's writings. And third is the Hwensang. Okay? So Hwensang also, and moreover Pal rulers, their initiative also. So that's how it survived outside India. I hope you got it. Then, so that's why this particular council of the Buddhism, or third council, is regarded as the most important council of the Buddhism. So mention, लिखो इसमें, that paragraph change करके लिखना. In his 9th regnal year, Ashoka, in his 9th regnal year, Ashoka led a campaign of Kaling, to control all the major ports, of Eastern India, Then mention after it. In this battle, which was fought on the banks of River Daya, at the site of Dhauli in Odisha. On the banks of River Daya, on the side of Dhauli in Odisha, more than 1 lakh people died. Then mention after it, more than 1 lakh people died, full stop. Asoka was moved by the scene of massacre, Asoka was moved by the scene of massacre and blood-red Daya River. Blood-red Daya River. He was full of remorse and guilt. He decided that he will abandon the policy of Bheri Ghosh. In brackets you can write military annexation, and he will follow the path of Dhamma Ghosh. He will follow the path of Dhamma Ghosh, socio-cultural annexation. Socio-cultural annexation. Then full stop, mention. He embarked on the path of Buddhism. He embarked on the path of Buddhism. Embarked on the path of Buddhism. Then mention. In 250 BC, he convened Third Buddhist Council at Patliputra. Third Buddhist Council at Patliputra, which led to compilation of Abhidhamma Pitak, which led to compilation of Abhidhamma Pitak. Mention. After the end of council, he started sending Buddhist missions. To the different parts of the world. Full stop. He sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka. To propagate Buddhism. Sri Lanka to propagate Buddhism. Mention. He also sent Buddhist missions. To East Asia, in the countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and Central Asia. Done? So, and Central Asia. हो गया? Then, so now, after it, understand. So basically, the Ashoka was the powerful ruler, and by 232 BC, his death has happened. But then, the strong army which has been created by the Ashoka, it was good till the lifetime of the Ashoka, but then after his death, it became a burden on the weak successors. Then, and they were not able to defend the Maurya Empire against many such divisionary things which were happening in the society. So the shrinkage of the Maurya Empire has started from 232 after the death of Ashoka. And finally, in 185 BC, the last ruler Brihadrat, he was assassinated by his own minister Pushyamitra Sunga. Then, so isko likh lo, and then we'll go into the other details, administration and other things associated with the Maurya. So you write that the strong army created by Ashoka The strong army created by Ashoka became a burden. The strong army created by Ashoka became a burden on the weak successor, became a burden on the weak successors after Ashoka's death. After Ashoka's death. Then mention, you're right. Later, in 185, later in 185 BC, the last Maurya ruler, the last Maurya ruler, Brihadrat, Brihadrat was assassinated by Brihadrat was assassinated by his minister Pushyamitra Sunga. His minister Pushyamitra Sunga. Then Pushyamitra Sunga. हो गया. So let's look at the different administrative division, administration of the Mauryas. So एक title लिखो, Maurya administration. So there were 7 organs of the Mauryan administration, and these 7 organs of Mauryan administration, they are referred as Saptang. So they are referred as Saptang. So now, just give me a minute then. So the first and the foremost is Swami. And who is Swami? King. So king was the first epithet of this Saptang. Then king is followed by Amatya. Amatya are ministers. Then ministers would be followed by we'll go with this one. Just a minute. Cause is treasury. Treasury. Then Bal is force. Then Durg क्या होगा? कितना लिख लिया? 5वां. So Durg is the fort. Then Mitra, ally, and Shatru, enemy. So sometimes, some places, Durg is also mentioned as Jana, Janapad. So these are the 7 organs of the Maurya administration. And on the basis of it only, the policies are decided. Okay? That they are created and the framework is decided. So एक बार लिखो that Maurya had a very centralized administration. Maurya had a very centralized administration and epitome of the are you right? Epitome of administration was king. Epitome of administration was king. Full stop. Can you write? Popularly, there were 7 organs there were 7 organs of Maurya administration. 7 organs of Maurya administration referred as Saptang. Referred as Saptang. So mention these all 7 organs you write. So Swami is the king, Amatya minister, Kos is the treasury, Bal is the force, Durg is the fort and Janpad. Then military, Mitra, sorry, not military. So Mitra is ally, and the last one Shatru. Is enemy. So now I'll write n number of the officers who existed in the Maurya Empire. So different names. जैसे कि prelims में they do ask this question, that they will be giving you a particular specific term and you just need to identify the meaning of the term, that what does it mean. And generally they give the name of the officers also. So if you're done with it, so I'm writing. अब एक heading लिख लो, important Mauryan officers. Mauryan officers. So पहला लिखो धम्म महामत्यास. Dhamma Mahamatyas. And who are they? The ministers who are responsible for propagation of Dhamma. Ministers responsible for propagation of Dhamma. Sannidhata. Samharta. Any idea? Sannidhata is the chief treasurer. Treasurer. Then Samharta, chief tax collector. Chief tax collector. Then Sulkadhyaksh. Sulkadhyaksh. What will be this? Just tax collector. So he is chief tax collector and they will be the normal tax collectors. Then mention Sitadhyaksh. Any idea? Minister of Agriculture Land. Good. Minister of Agriculture Land. Nagarika. Any idea? City administrator. Good. City administrator. Rajuk. Rajuk. Judicial officers. Judicial officers. Bhesaj. are physicians. Physicians. Guptachar. This though you all know. Spies. And then एक और लिख लो. What is this? Kumar Mahamatyas. Princes who hold the position of provincial governors. So, for example, when Ashoka is fighting with his brothers, so then he was the governor of the Takshasila. Okay. Got it? So this is what is about the important officers of the Maurya kingdom. And then, so there are other things also that we need to discuss about the Mauryas, basically their societal stuff. Break le lo, uske baad then we'll continue with the same. Add few more in this one. And add these two more. Sthanika. Vyoharika. So now you mention society of Mauryas. So Megasthenes in his book Indica, he mentioned about the Mauryan society. And moreover, what he mentions about the Mauryan society is 7 castes existed in the society. But then when it comes to the name of these 7 castes, it seems that Megasthenes was confused between the professions with the caste. Then, so for example, that what he has mentioned. So in the name of the 7 caste, what he has mentioned that counselors, then priest, thing, herdsman or shepherd class, agriculturalist, then he mentions philosophers, artisans, shamanas, ministers. Then So different books, they do give different names, but then he mentioned 7 professions, Megasthenes. We'll write this part. So this is what he has done. Then moreover, there was one practice which was also mentioned, and the practice is the basically the practice of the bonded labor, which is called as Visti. Okay? So Visti is the bonded labor or forced labor is also mentioned in this time. So एक बार लिखो that Megasthenes in his book Indica, Megasthenes in his book Indica referred 7 castes existing in the Mauryan society. 7 castes existing in the Mauryan society. Full stop. It seems that he was confused between caste and profession. He was confused between caste and profession and named profession as caste. So you can write these names which I have mentioned over here. So 7 castes. Then mention. Or basically this is peasants, then artisans, Shramanas, and ministers. Not visible. So उसके बाद लिखो bonded labor or forced labor was also practiced in the society, known as Visti. Done. They mention paragraph change karo, you're right. I have not discussed, but likh lo and then we'll go into the discussion. So mention that Mauryan society was comparatively unorthodox. And progressive. Full stop. There was mobility in the society. Full stop. Elders and women were accorded respect. So as the class of Shramanas. Then, so basically, you can mention over here progressive priestly class, but there is a different meaning of it. So we'll talk about that later on. Progressive priestly class. Then mention after it. At the time of Ashoka, moral ethical code of conduct. At the time of Ashoka, moral ethical code of conduct was defined for the masses. नॉन एडहेरेंस, फुल स्टॉप के बाद नॉन एडहेरेंस, not adherence to the code of conduct, led to severe punishment, Done. Then you mention other initiatives, एक बार लिख लो, ठीक है? So other initiatives, so in this you just write, it's self-explanatory itself. Ashoka was perhaps the first monarch of India. Ashoka was perhaps the first monarch of India who started creating wildlife sanctuaries for the protection of animals. Now just listen. So there are many stories associated with the name of the word Maurya. Okay? So when it comes to Maurya, so then some people, they say that, some historians, that it is derived from the name of the tribe Maurya. Okay? So there are different stories, but then that at least there is a one part which is true, that Moor or the peacock was one of their favorite, and moreover on daily basis at least one peacock was culled for making the dishes or preparations. Then now what happened, Ashoka, when he has accepted this particular Buddhism, so he has abhorred this activity, he has stopped this activity, and not in immediately but in a gradual way. So he reduced it, and no more culling of the animal happening by the end of his life. Okay? So you write that Ashoka stopped the practice of killing animals, including his favorite peacock. Done. Then add करो इसमें further. He also, Maurya rulers, not just Ashoka but all of them, Maurya rulers also created many public hospitals. Then हो गया. So there are not much to talk about this particular topic abhi yahan pe. So there are few things which are remaining, which will be dealing in the architecture part of the culture. Okay? So let's go into the next topic, that is post Maurya. Post Maurya. So in post-Maurya age, as we mentioned, that 185 Brihadrath was killed, and which led to the establishment of the Sunga dynasty in the Magad. But understand that by the time Shunga dynasty has been established, then already the decline or basically disintegration of the Magad has started, and the area is shrinking very fast. Then, so earlier Ashoka was ruling the entire Indian subcontinent. Then, but now by this point of time, the Maurya's rule is just limited to Bihar, okay, half the part of UP, and so as Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, these all area, meaning that southern part is no more with the Magad, and so as the northwestern part of India is also not there with the Magad. Then, so slowly the shrinkage is happening. So there are two type of dynasties which emerged in the post-Maurya age, and these dynasties are indigenous and the outsiders. Okay, so we'll start with the indigenous one, and then we'll go into the outsiders. Okay, so how we divide this topic? The dynasties which are there, So indigenous ones में number 1 is Sungas. ठीक है, and Sungas were followed by Kanvas. There is nothing to talk about the Kanvas, and then the important ones are the Satavahanas. And then on the outsider side, what we have, so outsiders, Indo-Greeks, Sakas. Sakas are also known as Scythians. Scythians and Kushan के पहले Parthians, and the last one are the Kushan. So these are the dynasties that we need to see over here. And moreover, why we call this age as the post-Maurya? Because there is no central ruler then. So there is no central ruler which is mentioned over, sorry, not mentioned, which was there in India at this time, and the Maurya kingdom has been divided into many parts. So एक बार लिखो, just one title you write. After the decline of Maurya Empire, after the decline of Maurya Empire, the Mauryan territory started to shrink. No, sorry, the Magadh territory. The Magadh territory started to shrink. And many ruling dynasties of indigenous nature and outsiders, many ruling dynasties of indigenous nature and outsiders started to rule in the fragmented areas of the erstwhile Maurya Empire. So start with the very first one, that is Sunga dynasty. Sunga से start करो. Sunga dynasty. 185 BC. And they will continue till 75. So as far as the Sunga dynasty is concerned, so very first person was the Pushyamitra Sunga. And so listen, so Pushyamitra Sunga, he was highly disaffected with over patronage of the Buddhism during the Maurya age, and he was a staunch critic to the Buddhism. At the same point of time, he wanted the Vedic revival. So when he came to power, so he not only revived the Vedic practices, those Ashwamedha Yajna and then different rituals associated with the Vedas, but at the same point of time, he also adopted the strategy of destroying the Buddhist places. So it is said that he destroyed many of the Buddhist stupas which existed in the Sanchi area. Then he also performed one Ashwamedha Yajna, and this Ashwamedha Yajna inscription where it is mentioned, it is the Ayodhya. So Ayodhya. Then after Pushyamitra Sunga, he was followed by the next ruler, Agnimitra Sunga. So Agnimitra Sunga, he is more known for, actually there was a question I think in 2017 paper related to the Agnimitra Sunga, but literature of the Sanskrit. So Agnimitra Sunga, he got married to the princess of Vidisha, Malvika, and this particular episode of his love affair with the Malvika is the central theme of the Kalidas book Malvika Agni Mitra. Okay? So Malvika Agni Mitra. Moreover, the third ruler was the Vasumitra. So during the time of the Vasumitra, what has happened, that Buddhism has further received the revival, and Vasumitra Sunga, he reconstructed all those stupas which were destroyed by Pushyamitra Sunga. Then comes another ruler whose name was Bhagbhadra. Okay? So Bhagbhadra. At the time of the Bhagbhadra, there was one Greek ambassador whose name was, any idea? Heliodorus. ठीक है. So Greek ambassador Heliodorus, he visited India, and moreover Heliodorus, with large number of his followers, he accepted Hinduism. Okay, so he accepted Hinduism, and then Heliodorus was the first person who erected a pillar in the name of Lord Vishnu. So he erected a pillar which is known as, the name of the pillar is Garuda Dhwaj. Then, and this was done at a place called Bhilsa. There are three names of this place in the modern times. So we call it Bhilsa, Besnagar, and the one which is the popular is Vidisha. Okay. So this particular pillar is considered as the first archaeological evidence of the worship of Lord Vishnu in India. Right? So worship of Lord Vishnu in India, and moreover, also for the very first time that we are noting down that the Greek people are accepting Hinduism. So एक बार लिखो इसको. Start with the Pushyamitra Sunga. So mention Pushyamitra Sunga. I'll write Pushyamitra Sunga. Revived Vedic rituals. Revived Vedic rituals. And started to re-promote Hinduism. Started to re-promote Hinduism. Full stop. Then you write, he performed one Ashwamedh Yajna. He performed one Ashwamedh Yajna under the guidance of Ashwamedh Yajna, under the guidance of his chief priest. Under the guidance of his chief priest. And who was the chief priest? Patanjali. Yes. His chief priest, Patanjali. Done? Then mention the details of Ashwamedh Yajna. The details of Ashwamedh Yajna is mentioned in Ayodhya inscription. Is mentioned in Ayodhya inscription. Ayodhya inscription. Then you write, it is said that Pushyamitra, it is said that Pushyamitra destroyed many Buddhist stupas and monasteries. Destroyed many Buddhist stupas and monasteries at Sanchi. Full stop, change paragraph, and then you write, he was succeeded by his son. Agnimitra Sunga. Succeeded by his son Agnimitra Sunga. Then mention after it, love affair of Agnimitra Sunga. Love affair of Agnimitra Sunga with the princess of Vidisha, Malvika. With the princess of Vidisha, Malvika. Is mentioned in the novel of Kalidas. Is mentioned in the novel of Kalidas, Malvikagni Mitra. Malvikagni Mitra. novel of Kalidas, Malvikagni Mitra. Then हो गया. Then फिर से लिखो. Next ruler Vasumitra Sunga. Next ruler Vasumitra Sunga promoted Buddhism and reconstructed all the stupas in Sanchi destroyed by Pushyamitra Sunga. Then mention. Next part you write. Paragraph change करके लिखना. During the tenure of Bhagbhadra. During the tenure of Bhagbhadra, a Greek ambassador Heliodorus visited India or visited Sunga's court. लिखो. Visited Sunga's court. Heliodorus, it's written here. Chalo, I'll write clearly. Visited Sunga's court. Then, right? With large number of his followers, he accepted Hinduism. Full stop. In the worship of Lord Vishnu, he erected a pillar. In the worship of Lord Vishnu, he erected a pillar named Garud Dhwaj. At. So these three names you write Bhilsa, Besnagar, Vidisha. Garud Dhwaj. So sometime that interchangeably they ask this information with these places. Okay? It's a name that of one place only. Vidisha आजकल का modern name है. But then Besnagar and Bhilsa were the old name. Then इसमें एक और चीज ऐड करो. Just add one line. It is regarded as the first archaeological evidence. It is regarded as the first archaeological evidence of Vishnu worship in India. First archaeological evidence of Vishnu worship in India. And so Vishnu worship in India. So this is one part. Then now understand. So the last ruler of this dynasty, whose name was Deva Ahuti, and Deva Ahuti was killed by his minister Vasudev Kanva. So it is only the change of the rule but not the religion at this point of time, because Vasudev Kanva was also the promoter of the Vedic Hinduism only. Okay? So this was basically the phase of the promotion of the Vedic Hinduism. But then Vasudev Kanva's rule will be trespassed by, or basically it will be taken over by the Satvahanas in the Andhra. So just write a one line about the Kanvas, okay? And then we'll go into the Satvahanas. So mention that the last ruler, Sunga ruler likhna. The last Sunga ruler, Dev Ahuti. was killed by his minister Vasudev Kanwa. Vasudev Kanwa around 75 BC. Then mention it led to the establishment of Kanwa dynasty. Kanwa dynasty in Magad. Kanwa dynasty in Magad. Then mention Vedic Hinduism was still promoted during this age. Vedic Hinduism was still promoted in this age. Done. So now the next one you write as a title, and then we'll talk about the change of the transfer of the power. So you write Satvahan. Satvahan. So now understand Satvahan, like a little bit of more details are there in this one. So Satvahans have many names. Okay, so they are also referred as Andhras or Andhra Bhrityas. Okay, as far as the lineage of the Satvahans is concerned, so Satvahans are basically that they claim themselves to be the lineage of the Vishwamitra. Okay, so they trace their lineage with the Vishwamitra, and I think already we have shared the story of the Vishwamitra. It is said that after the Dasarajan war, Vishwamitra descended to the hills of the Deccan, okay, where the progeny named as Satavahanas they emerged. As far as their origin is concerned, so it is said that the origin of the Satvahan was around somewhere around 200 BC, but then they have came to prominence in the 1st century AD, and the very first ruler who is important in this 1st century AD was a Semuk. So what was his achievement? That he defeated Kanwas and annexed their territory into the Deccan kingdom. So एक बात ध्यान में रखना that from here onwards there is no existence of the Magad. Then so there is no existence of the Magad. The territory of the Magad has come under the Deccan kingdom of the Satvahanas. And as far as the Satvahan rule is concerned, so it is extending from touching Gujarat and going till the entire Andhra. Okay? So starting from the Gujarat, Maharashtra and the Andhra part. So as the central India part was also under their control. So thoda sa likho, mention that Satvahanas trace their lineage. Satvahanas trace their lineage with Vishwamitra. Then they are also referred as Andhras or Andhra Bhrityas. They are also referred as Andhras and Andhra Bhrityas. Andhra Bhrityas. Full stop. Then mention. Though their origin is traced in 200 BC, though their origin is traced in 200 BC, but they came to prominence. In 1st century AD. Though their origin is traced to 200 BC, but they came to prominence in 1st century AD. Full stop. Semuk is regarded as the real founder. Semuk is regarded as the real founder of Satvahanas. In 1st century AD. In 1st century AD. Then then mention. After it, first century AD, full stop. Should I stop the class? I'm not feeling well actually. See. So, ठीक है, चलेगा ना? So, do we have class tomorrow? चलो, we'll go with the details tomorrow. ठीक है, चलो, thank you.